As the Story Grows, I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome Jeremy Galindo to the podcast. Jeremy is one of the founders of legendary post-rock band This Will Destroy You. Jeremy has a new album coming out under the name You Infinite with former This Will Destroy You member Raymond Brown. That album is self-titled and releasing this Friday on Pelagic Records. Jeremy talks about the early days of This Will Destroy You, his initial pushback to being called a post-rock band, the split that gave us two versions of This Will Destroy You, and then he deep dives into the new album's concepts, creation, and more. I've been a fan of Jeremy's work for a long time, and the You Infinite record is absolutely phenomenal and a stunning piece of work. So make sure you check it out this Friday. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of As the Story Grows. If this is your first time checking us out, thank you so much. Welcome. You can find links in the show notes to connect with the podcast over on Discord. You can find a link to our mailing list, and you can find a link to our Patreon page, where $1 a month gets you early access to every episode. And if you are new, I would love it if you subscribed to the podcast on your platform of choice. Enjoy today's conversation with Jeremy Galindo from You Infinite. Before we dive in, is there anything personally or legally you would like to not talk about?
No. If it seems like I'm dodging any questions you might have about the This Will Destroy You stuff, it's just because of legal issues going on, but I will answer them the best I can.
How's it going today?
Going well. How are you?
Doing good. Glad to have you here. I've been a fan of your music for a long time, and so it's been nice to listen to the new album and kind of dissect it a little bit over the last few days.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, thanks.
There's a lot of layers and a lot of really interesting things happening. So it's cool to spend time with a record, and just especially in this genre.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Are you still in Texas?
Actually, at the moment, I'm in Oklahoma. Okay. Yeah, but should be back in Texas shortly.
Nice. Yeah. You grew up in Texas?
I did, yeah. San Antonio.
San Antonio?
Yeah.
Nice. What was growing up like?
Oh, it was cool. It's very, very family focused for the most part until I was like 17 and was able to move out and kind of get things going on my own. But yeah, it was cool.
That's cool. What got you into music?
So my older brother got a guitar. I was probably like 8 or 9 at the time, maybe 10. He got it for Christmas, and I was jealous. Always loved music, so I, my mom had a 12-string acoustic that I picked up and started learning on, and they got me a guitar like a year later, and yeah, it's been my focus for a long time.
That's cool. I played a 12-string guitar once, and I hated it. I was like, nope, not for me.
Yeah, it ripped my fingers apart. But I had to learn. I needed to learn. So
that's cool. At what point are you playing guitar? Or are you just like trying to form bands? And like, what was the music scene like in San Antonio as you like enter high school?
Yeah, so it was strange. It started probably my first band when I was 12. Played my first show when I was 13. The band that This Will Destroy You was before we were This Will Destroy You. We were a pop punk band in San Antonio that was moderately popular locally. So there was like one venue that all the bands played for the most part. And yeah, I was probably playing shows there once or twice a month, and yeah, but it was cool. It was a good learning experience, and then when This Will Destroy You took off, I had a little bit under my belt there. So
yeah. Was there like one genre that kind of, I don't know, defined the San Antonio scene at the time, or was it just kind of a hodgepodge.
Oh, I mean, around that time, I guess there was that band Power Man 5000. I believe who it was. Who was kind of the first band from San Antonio at least of our time that broke out and was on mainstream radio. And there's a bunch of, I don't know if it's true or not. I'm pretty sure it is, but I heard that they bankrupted a division of a really large label when they first went on tour, because they got an additional tour bus strictly for partying, and they were just blowing budgets wild. And then I don't know. I guess there might have been a one-hit wonder. I really don't remember.
Yeah,
but yeah, they San Antonio is a very metal and new metal centric. As far as the larger scene goes, place. So yeah.
What was the transition kind of out of pop punk and into This Will Destroy You? I know you guys did not set out initially to be an instrumental band.
Yeah. So a big part of it for me was probably getting into mind altering drugs and stuff like that, and not really wanting to play music that I wasn't really super into or listening to anymore at the time. And try to start doing something different with a group of guys that didn't work out. So I hit up my old crew to see if they'd be down to do something different. And we tried the first EP that This Will Destroy You had before Young Mountain had vocals and stuff, and we just scrapped it. And, and the one song we kept was an instrumental for the most part, and it just kind of came together after that.
That's cool. Were there guideposts for the band as you're starting and writing and creating?
Not really. We had no idea what we were doing. We had recorded Young Mountain. I really have no idea how it all came about and how we kind of became a big part of the genre. We might have each had a couple, 2 out of the 100 albums on our old ass iPods back then, probably. We're probably in the post-rock genre. So it really wasn't what we're listening to a lot, but I was listening to a ton of film scoring and stuff of that nature. And, I kind of formed the way that I played guitar off of in earlier days Smashing Pumpkins, and later days right around the time we were writing the album, maybe the closest thing would be Sigur Rós, but a lot of film composers, and it just kind of came about. It was like I said, really, really strange how we got into it, but I'm glad we did.
There's a quote from you, at least I'm credited to you on Wikipedia, from 2009, talking about being a part of the post-rock genre. You said it can be aggravating. I think after this new album comes out, a lot of people are going to stop talking about us in this way. Was it just I know at that time, if you were an instrumental band, you kind of got dropped into post-rock, regardless of what you sounded like.
Sure.
Just you don't have vocals, you're a post-rock band. Was it kind of just you felt like it was a laziness on music critics and writers, or just you're not able to find people who might enjoy your music because you're being pigeonholed into genre X? Or
no, there's certain people in the band that definitely took it way more intensely than I did. But in retrospect, we're 100% a post-rock band. But I don't know. I think that for us, at the time, we would have a lot of, we weren't at the point in our careers where we could really choose who we toured with and have open for us locally and what have you. So we would hear a lot of bands that just were copying, the formula that made whatever other band successful in the genre at the time successful. So it's just the genre seemed very formulaic, and it wasn't super interesting to us. Not something we really listened to a lot ourselves. So I think we just I don't know why we didn't consider ourselves a part of the genre, or maybe we did somewhat, but yeah, we really tried to make it a point over our career to, reinvent ourselves for every album we did for the most part. But yeah, I would say we're very much in the genre, and I'm not ashamed of it by any means these days. Yeah.
Yeah, that next record would have been Tunnel Blanket. Was that kind of written out of a response to not wanting to be post rock? I mean, that album is very noisy and aggressive by post rock standard, right?
No, that was definitely a part of it. We wanted to do something more experimental, and brought in some new people that we thought we could do that with, and I mean, there's a lot going on at that time. I mean, Tunnel Blanket was very much an album about death and what we were experiencing at the time, but definitely wanted to do something different as well.
How'd the band end up signing with Magic Bullet?
So Brent had heard Young Mountain through probably mp3.com, something like that. Something old back in the day. He had somehow come across our the EP and asked us if we wanted to release it, and we said no. But he really pushed for it, and kind of convinced us that it was worth putting out. We originally just wanted it to be a demo for labels and something we could sell to fans directly, but he thought it was good enough to stand on its own, and so we trusted him, and we're very glad we did.
Yeah Throughout This Will Destroy You's career, I mean, I guess from the time the band starts is kind of the rise of maybe the post-rock boom or whatever. I don't know, sometime around then. Like, what was it trying to navigate? I mean, you're on Suicide Squeeze after Magic Bullet, you do stuff with Dark Operative. Like, what was that rise as, like, the genre kind of crested, and then, I don't know, it existed, but not in the same way it did there, mid 2000s, right?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think we just always kept the focus on what we were doing, and trying to, like I said, just like recreate, do something new every time we worked on an album. The decision to like jump over to Suicide Squeeze and then back to Brent, it wasn't because there was any drama or anything going on with the labels. We just wanted to see what it would be like to have a different approach at it. Yeah. And now both the labels kind of work together for our last album it's I don't know. I love Suicide Squeeze. I love David there, and Brent's been probably the closest thing I could call to like a manager that we've had over the years, and he's a great friend, one of my closest friends easily. So I'm just happy to be a part of their story as well.
You guys put out Vespertine in summer of 2020. Not a good time to release music.
Yeah.
Was that kind of already in the works?
Yeah, it'd been in the works for a while. I don't know how long the restaurant was open before the pandemic hit and we're on lockdown, but it had been in the works from the second we started working on it.
Yeah. I don't know how much you can talk about this or say, but what was the decision kind of as the band splits to basically have two This Will Destroy You?
Yeah, so I think the best way to reference like what's going on between me and Chris is that we're in a divorce, and This Will Destroy You is our child, and we're getting equal custody because we could not find an agreement elsewhere. And we know it's messy and confusing to the fans, and I'm sorry that it's that way. I do hope at some point I'll be in a position to just hopefully buy Chris out. But I don't know if he'd ever be into that, and I'm sure if he wanted to do the same with me, I wouldn't be into it. So it's just one of those situations where it was best for us personally not to be working together, and this was the only way we could still keep the band going in a sense, in a way. Yeah.
We'll jump to this new album, You Infinite. This really, from the press release, seems like this started with Raymond kind of having these ideas and bringing them to you during lockdown or post-lockdown. What was the process of connecting with Raymond about these songs?
Yeah, so back in 2019, actually, a little bit before the craziness of the pandemic, Raymond had sent me just a folder of just some ideas and some riffs that he'd been working on since he had left the band. And I heard the potential for an album in there and started piecing some of it together and structuring them out of songs and writing my own. And we started passing stuff back and forth until we kind of had the bare bones of an album put together, and we just built on it for the first couple of years, and then the album was kind of held in limbo for a couple of years before we finally got into the studio and decided to release it under the You Infinite name, and the rest is, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Was there talks about like, I don't know, a different band name or what the project would look like before kind of things split?
Yeah. There was a period of time where I was hoping it would be a This Will Destroy You album, but with everything going on, it just it didn't work out that way. And we went through a ton of different band names, but this was the one that stuck. So
yeah, it's kind of a, I don't know, an ode to This Will Destroy You without.
Yeah, definitely. I think there can be a little bit implied there. Sure.
Yeah. How'd you get connected with Pelagic Records for this release?
So at the time that we were first planning on going to the studio, around then, a little after, I had a record deal with a different label, but that was kind of during the time that we're hoping it would be a This Will Destroy You thing. But then I ended up being on the road with The Ocean, who's Robin from Pelagic and a couple other people who work at Pelagic, their band. And I had given him the You Infinite demos to check out, and he told me that if things fell through with the other label, he'd love to put it out, and things did indeed end up falling through. And I am happy that we're working with Pelagic for this.
Yeah. They're a cool label. It fits their vibe.
For sure.
When like I said at the beginning, I really like the nature of this record. Like Throughlines is a great lead single to kind of introduce this record, but I love that switch to Cutter that's very sparse in piano and just kind of brings the vibe down. And like the record has these moves and movements. When you guys are putting this together, I mean, what's your thought process behind like this track goes here, how we're pacing the record? Because even though things are on streaming and the music industry is upside down now, like people like us give a shit about the album and how it flows, right? No, there's a lot of thought that goes into it. I mean, there's some obvious things that stand out, like don't put these two tracks back to back potentially because there's similar structure or they both end similarly or what have you. But really, the attention is kind of on flow and like what kind of journey do we feel the listener will kind of take on while listening to it, and that's ultimately what we
base 95% of those decisions off of.
Yeah. Who kind of came up with the song titles? Does that all start with Raymond and kind of his demo ideas, or was there a process in naming the tracks to give a vibe?
No, I had a list of song titles that we just kind of picked from, and yeah, I'm happy with most of them. Yeah, I wasn't really big into being a part of the titling and stuff until recently. So, it's just random ideas that come into your head. You write it in your notes on your phone, and there's a lot of bad ones, and there's some that pass. So we took the ones that pass. Yeah. Has
that been your approach throughout? Like, I feel like with instrumental music, there are people who are just like, you got your Don Caballeros that are just like, fuck it, let's just have weird names, or like people who are like, the title is meant to evoke an emotion. Have you always just been like, this sounds cool and fits with the vibe of the music?
Yeah, so with the This Will Destroy You stuff, Chris would normally come up with the titles. He was a lot better at that, and had way more grandiose ideas than I could have had at the time. And then back in 2020, 2021, when I was writing stuff for my solo project for The Introvert, started writing lyrics, which was something I was not good at when I was a kid, but I guess with wisdom and all the things that come with age, I was very surprised that my lyrics were actually pretty decent. I was definitely surprised that was the case now. But from that, I kind of had a little more confidence going in with You Infinite that, okay, maybe I can translate somewhat of what I think a song field would be to a title, but for a lot of the titles happen before the song, and we're grabbing, like I said, from a list, and this song title matches this feel in our heads at least, but not really any like secret meaning as to how to direct the listener into what to feel while they're doing it. I think while they're listening to it, I think it's always been important to me, at least, that with instrumental music, the meaning of the song is completely can be translated by the person listening to it to however it fits, their experience.
Yeah. You think about that Sigur Rós record where it's just 8 untitled songs.
Yeah.
It's like, you decide.
Exactly.
Yeah. What led to the decision to just self-titled this record?
I think it just made sense in the way that the last album that me and Ray had worked on together was self-titled, From This Will Destroy You, and this kind of felt like a successor to that style that we wrote in back then, with more experience, but and even though it's under a new name and everything, it does in certain ways feel like a self-titled part 2. But yeah, so it's a bit of an homage, I think, to the past.
Nice. Thomas Hooper did the album artwork. Did you just kind of give him the tracks and let him have free reign? Yeah.
He has a very specific style, and he's amazing at it, and I'm super happy with everything he came up with, and it was awesome to get to work with him.
Yeah. Album's out end of next month. What's the future look like? Is your plan to go as This Will Destroy You on the road and tour and play this album?
So This Will Destroy You is still kind of doing our 20th anniversary tours. We're 21 years old. I get that. 2 decades of This Will Destroy You, if you will. So we'll be playing certain albums in their entirety from This Will Destroy You and other fan favorites and whatnot. But we'll work in 1 or 2 You Infinite songs into the sets, and I probably have to explain what's going on because I know not everybody keeps on top of what's what. But we'll we'll be most likely doing that. And like there's Post Fest coming up where we'll have a This Will Destroy You set and a U Infinite set. But yeah, hopefully U Infinite can go out and do standalone shows in time. We'll see how the album is received.
Do you enjoy kind of the anniversary playing the album front to back, or would you rather just like play the new stuff? I know everybody's got, every band that comes back and reunites, it's like eventually they're like, we have to write new music because we're sick of the old shit. Right?
Yeah, no, that definitely happens, especially when you're touring so much that it's just kind of the same stuff over and over. But I don't know, there is a certain nostalgia with I think this much time that passes that I enjoy playing albums in their entirety, especially ones that people really enjoy and want to hear. So I don't really have a problem with it as long as we have enough time afterwards to maybe showcase a thing or two. It's always nice.